They were supposed to grow old with you. That was the plan, wasn't it? The promise you made each other, the future you imagined together, the life that made sense with them in it. But they left first, and now you're here, carrying on without them, wondering why. Why them and not you? Why now? Why this unbearable sequence where you have to learn to exist in a world that doesn't contain them? The question tears at you in the quiet moments. Was there a reason? A purpose? Or is death just random cruelty, taking who it wants, when it wants, leaving the living to make sense of senselessness? Edgar Cayce saw the answer to this question thousands of times, and what he discovered about why certain souls leave first, why your person left first, isn't what religion tells you. It's not God needed another angel. It's not their time was up. It's not even everything happens for a reason. It's something much more profound, much more personal, much more purposeful than any platitude could capture. Your loved one didn't just die before you. They completed something with you. They accomplished something for you. They chose something that your soul agreed to before either of you were born. And understanding this choice, this sacred contract between your souls, doesn't make the grief disappear, but it transforms it from meaningless suffering into meaningful purpose, from abandonment into accomplishment, from "why did you leave me?" to "thank you for what you gave me by leaving when you did." Today, we unveil what Edgar Cayce discovered about the sacred timing of death, why certain souls must leave first, and what your loved one needs you to understand about their departure. The contract made in light. Before you were born, before either of you were born, Cayce revealed that you sat together in what he called the planning realm. Not as humans, but as souls, fully aware of your eternal nature, reviewing what needed to be accomplished in the coming lifetime. No soul enters or exits a life randomly, Cayce stated in Reading 1523-4. The timing of birth and death are written into the soul's contract, agreed upon by all involved, designed for the highest evolution of everyone touched by that life. In this realm of planning, you and your loved one looked at what you each needed to learn, to heal, to accomplish, and together you made an agreement. Not just about being together, but about the leaving, the timing, the purpose. "I will leave first," they said, "because my leaving will activate something in you that cannot be activated any other way." And you, your soul, agreed. Not your human self, who would forget the agreement, but your eternal self, who understood the profound gift hidden in what would feel like devastating loss. One woman came to Cayce shattered by her husband's sudden death at 42. "We were supposed to have 40 more years," she wept. Cayce's response changed her life. You had exactly the years you contracted for. His early departure wasn't cutting your time short. It was the completion of his gift to you. Now begins the part of your journey you must walk alone, not as punishment, but as the flowering of strength he planted in you by leaving. The 5 sacred reasons. Through thousands of readings, Cayce identified 5 primary soul purposes for why someone predeceases their loved ones. 1. The activation purpose. Some souls leave early to activate dormant potentials in those who remain. Their death becomes the catalyst for gifts, strengths, or purposes that would have remained sleeping if they had stayed. A mother who lost her child might become an advocate for grieving parents. A widower might discover artistic gifts in his solitude. The departure creates the pressure that forms the diamond. 2. The liberation purpose. Sometimes a soul agrees to leave first to free their loved one from caretaking, from limitation, from a dynamic that, while loving, was preventing necessary growth. This isn't abandonment. It's the ultimate act of love. I will leave so you can become who you're meant to be, even though staying would be easier for both of us. 3. The teaching purpose. Some souls accomplish their entire life purpose quickly and completely. They came to teach specific lessons, and once taught, their continued presence would actually diminish the teaching. Like a master teacher who must leave for the student to become the master themselves. 4. The karmic completion purpose. In past lives, debts were created. Perhaps you left them through death in another lifetime. Perhaps you caused their death. Perhaps you failed to save them. Now the roles reverse, the karma balances, the ancient wound heals through experiencing the other side. 5. The bridge purpose. Some souls leave first to become bridges between worlds. They establish a connection point that helps their loved ones develop spiritual awareness, mediumship abilities, or simply a knowing that death isn't final. They become your guardian, your guide, your proof that love transcends death. Why you had to stay? This is the harder truth. You didn't just agree to let them leave first. You agreed to stay after they left. Your soul contracted not just for the togetherness, but for the aftermath, for the carrying on, for the becoming who you become through loss. The one who remains, Casey explained, often has the harder assignment. To die is to graduate. To survive is to continue the curriculum with a crucial piece missing, learning to find wholeness in apparent incompletion. But why would your soul agree to this? Because there are things you can only learn through loss. Strengths you can only develop through survival. Gifts you can only discover in the void their absence creates. One man asked Casey why his wife died young, leaving him with 3 children. Casey's reading revealed she completed her soul's work to bring these 3 souls into the world and love them into existence. Your soul's work is longer, to raise them into adulthood. She could leave because her assignment was complete. You must stay because yours continues. The man initially felt angry. Why did she get the easier job? But then he understood. They were partners across the veil. She accomplished the birthing, he would accomplish the raising, and together, even separated by death, they were completing the sacred contract of parenthood. The growth through grief principle. Here's what Casey discovered that nobody talks about. Grief itself is purposeful, not just the loss, but specifically the grief. It's designed into the contract as a transformative force. Grief, Casey revealed, is love with nowhere to go in the physical realm, so it breaks through into the spiritual realm. The bereaved become naturally psychic, naturally sensitive to spirit, because grief thins the veil between worlds. Your tears aren't just sorrow. They're dissolving the boundary between dimensions. Your yearning isn't just missing them, it's stretching your consciousness toward where they are. Your pain isn't punishment, it's expansion, brutal, unwanted, but ultimately evolutionary expansion. The broken heart, Casey explained, breaks open. What enters through that opening changes you forever. You become capable of compassion you couldn't feel before, wisdom you couldn't access, purpose you couldn't see. This is why, Casey noted, so many who lose loved ones young become healers, teachers, guides for others in grief. The wound becomes the gift. The loss becomes the qualification. The absence becomes the presence of something greater. They chose you to survive them. This might be the most profound revelation. Your loved one didn't just die. They chose you to be the one to survive them. Out of all the souls they could have loved, they chose someone strong enough to carry on, to complete what you started together, to transform grief into growth. Souls, Casey explained, choose their survivors as carefully as they choose their partners. They select those who have the latent strength to not just survive the loss, but to be transformed by it. Think about what this means. Your loved one looked at your soul before birth and said, "You're strong enough to do this. You're capable of taking our love and letting it evolve beyond physical presence. You can carry our story forward. You can complete what we begin together." They didn't leave you because you were weak. They left you because you were strong enough to stay. One widow asked Casey, "Why did he leave me to face old age alone?" Casey's answer reframed everything. He didn't leave you to face it alone. He went ahead to prepare the way. Every challenge you face, he's already there, having cleared the path from the other side. You're not abandoned. You're following a trail he's blazing from beyond. The work they're doing now. Your loved one isn't just gone. According to Casey, they're actively working, and much of that work involves you. The deceased, Casey revealed, often spend their initial time in spirit working to comfort, guide, and strengthen those they left behind. This isn't occasional checking in. It's their primary occupation. They're learning how to send signs you'll recognize. They're discovering how to influence your dreams. They're figuring out how to guide you through synchronicities. They're mastering the art of trans-dimensional love. But here's what's crucial. They can only help you to the degree you allow it. If you're closed in bitter anger, they can't reach you. If you're frozen in denial, they can't comfort you. If you refuse to move forward, they're stuck too, unable to complete their side of the contract. The greatest gift you can give the deceased, Casey said, is to live fully. Your joy frees them. Your growth completes their purpose. Your healing validates their sacrifice of leaving first. Comment below if you felt your loved one working from the other side, through signs, dreams, or inexplicable moments of comfort. These aren't imagination, they're communication. The timeline teaching. Why did they die when they did? Why that specific moment, that particular day, that exact age? Casey revealed something remarkable. The timing of death is as purposeful as birth. Not random, not arbitrary, precisely timed for maximum soul growth for all involved. Consider, Casey said, what was happening in your life when they died? What were you becoming? What were you avoiding? What were you ready for but resisting? Their death timing is often the answer to these questions. A woman whose mother died right before her wedding discovered through Casey that this timing was purposeful. Your mother's presence would have overshadowed your marriage. Her absence forces you to stand as a woman, not a daughter. She gave you independence through leaving. A man whose father died just as his business was failing learned. His death freed you from trying to impress him, allowing you to rebuild authentically rather than for approval. The timing often seems cruel. Right before the graduation, the wedding, the birth of grandchildren. But Casey revealed these aren't cruel coincidences. They're precise calibrations designed to create specific growth opportunities. The unfinished business myth. People torment themselves with if-onlys. If only I'd said I love you more. If only we'd had that conversation. If only I'd been there at the end. Casey's revelation about this brings profound comfort. There is no unfinished business between souls. What seems incomplete from the human perspective is complete from the soul perspective. That conversation you never had, your souls had it before incarnating. That forgiveness never spoken, already given at the soul level. That final goodbye you missed. Just a human formality. Souls don't say goodbye because they never actually separate. The soul who leaves, Casey explained, understands everything, why you couldn't be there, what you couldn't say, what remained undone. They see your heart, not your actions. They feel your love, not your failures. One man tortured himself because he'd argued with his wife the day before she died suddenly. Casey's reading brought tears. She used the energy of that argument to let go. Your anger gave her permission to leave. What you see as failure was actually assistance. She knew you'd blame yourself, but she also knew you'd eventually understand. The argument was part of the agreement. The continuing connection. Here's what changes everything. They didn't predecease you to end the relationship. They predeceased you to transform it. Death, Casey said repeatedly, doesn't end relationships. It evolves them. The physical chapter closes, so the spiritual chapter can begin. And the spiritual chapter is far longer, richer, and more real than the physical could ever be. Your relationship isn't over. It's changing forms, from physical to spiritual, from temporal to eternal, from limited by bodies to unlimited by consciousness. They're not your late loved one. That implies they're delayed, behind, missing. They're your advanced loved one. They've gone ahead. They're preparing the way. They're in the expanded state you'll eventually join. Every night in deep sleep, Casey revealed, souls meet beyond the body. You're with them more than you know in realms your waking mind can't remember. The separation is only in the waking state. In the deeper reality, you're never apart. The purpose of your remaining time. So why are you still here? What's the purpose of these years, maybe decades without them? Casey was clear. You're not just marking time until reunion. You have specific work that can only be done from your side of the veil, just as they have work that can only be done from theirs. Your work might be raising children with the strength their absence created, completing creative work inspired by loss, helping others through similar grief, developing spiritual gifts activated by their departure. Learning independence you couldn't achieve in partnership. Discovering who you are beyond who you were together. The years after loss, Casey explained, are often the most spiritually productive of a lifetime. The ego is broken, the heart is open, the veil is thin. Great spiritual leaps become possible in grief that were impossible in comfort. The reunion promise. Every soul Casey read for asked the same question, will I see them again? His answer was always the same, always absolute. Reunion is guaranteed. Not hoped for, not possible. Guaranteed. Souls who love continue together through eternity. The separation is temporary, like actors leaving stage at different times, but meeting again backstage. But he revealed something even more beautiful. The reunion isn't just repetition of what was. It's evolution into something greater. When souls reunite after death, Casey explained, they meet with all veils removed. No ego, no misunderstanding, no limitation. The love you shared on earth was just a glimpse of the love you'll share in spirit. The connection you had in bodies was practice for the connection you'll have beyond bodies. Your loved one is preparing for this reunion too. They're not just waiting, they're evolving, growing, becoming more of who they really are so that when you meet again, you meet as fuller versions of yourselves. The gift, hidden in the grief. As we near the end, I need you to understand the gift your loved one gave you by leaving first. Not the gift you wanted, but the gift your soul needed. They gave you the opportunity to discover strength you didn't know you had, to develop independence you couldn't achieve in partnership, to spiritual awakening that only comes through loss, to become someone you could never have become if they'd stayed. This isn't consolation. This is cosmic truth. Your loved one's early death is their greatest act of love. Stepping aside so you could step forward, leaving physically so you could grow spiritually, creating absence that forces you to discover your own presence. One woman, 5 years after her husband's death, told, "I hate that he died, but I'm grateful for who I've become since he died. Would I have become this person if he'd lived?" Casey's answer was profound. No, and he knew that. His leaving was calculated to create exactly who you've become. You are his masterpiece, painted in grief but revealing strength. The message they want you to hear. Through thousands of readings, Casey compiled what the predeceased consistently want their survivors to know. Stop feeling guilty about moving forward. Your progress is our purpose. The joy you feel isn't betrayal. It's success, the success of our contract. When you laugh again, we celebrate. When you love again, we rejoice. We're not jealous of your new life. We're proud of it. We helped create it by leaving. Stop visiting the grave so often. We're not there. We're where you are. The greatest honor you can give our memory is to live fully, love freely, and grow constantly. We're not missing your life. We're more present than ever, just differently present. Thank you for surviving us. Thank you for continuing. Thank you for completing what we started together. The sacred understanding. Your loved one predeceased you because that was always the plan. Not a plan made by cruel fate or random chance, but a sacred agreement between souls who loved each other enough to play these roles. They loved you enough to leave first, to give you the growth that only comes through grief. You loved them enough to stay behind, to complete what you began together, to carry both your love forward into tomorrow. This isn't abandonment, it's assignment. This isn't punishment, it's purpose. This isn't ending, it's transformation. Every day you survive without them, you're honoring the contract. Every step forward is a victory for both of you. Every moment of joy you reclaim is a celebration across the veil. They didn't leave you. They graduated ahead of you, and they're cheering from the stands as you complete your own course. They're not behind you in the past. They're ahead of you in the future, preparing your reunion, holding space for your arrival. Your life is their legacy. Here's the final truth Casey revealed. Your life after their death is their continuing life. Through you, they still touch the world. Through your growth, they still grow. Through your love, they still love. You're not just surviving without them, you're living for them, with them, as their continued presence in the world. Every kind act you do carries their kindness forward. Every person you help heals their absence a little. Every day you choose life honors their death. Comment below with your own story of loss and growth. Share how your loved one's death has transformed you. Your story might be exactly what another grieving soul needs to hear today. And tonight, before you sleep, tell them out loud or in your heart, "I understand now. Thank you for loving me enough to leave first. Thank you for trusting me enough to carry on. I'm doing it. I'm becoming who you saw I could become. And when my assignment here is complete, I'll meet you with stories of triumph you helped create by leaving when you did." They hear you. They always hear you. And they're smiling, knowing their sacrifice is becoming your strength. Their absence is becoming your presence. Their graduation is becoming your education. You asked why they predeceased you. Now you know, because your soul is strong enough to complete the symphony you started together, conducting both parts now. Theirs from memory, yours from presence, creating music that couldn't exist if they had stayed. This is love at its highest expression. This is sacrifice at its most sacred. This is the contract you both signed in light, now being fulfilled in the temporary darkness of separation. But the darkness isn't forever. The separation isn't permanent. The grief isn't meaningless. It's all preparation for a reunion that will make the separation worthwhile. A reconnection that justifies the disconnection. a forever that explains the temporary. They predeceased you because that's how your love story was always meant to unfold, not ending at death, but transforming through it into something eternal. And now, every day you live is a day closer to them. Every lesson you learn is preparation for reunion. Every moment of growth is a gift you'll share when you meet again. They didn't leave you behind. They went ahead to light the way. And one day, one perfect, inevitable day, you'll understand completely why it had to happen exactly as it did. Until then, live, love, grow, become. That's what they're waiting to see. That's what they're helping you achieve. That's why they predeceased you, so you could become magnificent through missing them. And you are. You're becoming exactly who they knew you could be. That's their gift. That's your purpose. That's the sacred contract of love that transcends death itself.